folks, and thanks for joining us for this week's episode of A Criminal Family, where we take a look each week at a different American family. This week, we're visiting with Wayne and Karen. They are crime lords based out of rural Maryland, and they're making sure that their children continue the tradition. We were able to meet with the family in an old abandoned warehouse and learn a little bit more about how these people think. I wanted to thank you again for meeting with me today, Wayne. So, you're the dawn of your own crime ring here in Maryland. You call the members your extended family. Tell me, how were you able to get your actual family into this extended family?
Yeah, certainly not by design, but I think both Karen and I grew up very close to family, extended family. So extended family is just when we think of family, we don't just think of parents and kids, and we think of the extension. Both of us growing up, and then it just seemed that was something that we hoped we would have, but we haven't done anything by design to make that happen. It's just, I guess we raised our kids with the same ideas, and they wanted to be a part of that.
Well, whether it was by design or not, it sure looks like your kids are a big part of it. Now, when you were a kid yourself, wasn't there a movie that inspired you to get into the crime business? That's right. It was Mr. Lucky, wasn't it? And, who starred in that?
I'll say Cary Grant.
Indeed it was. I see you haven't forgotten it after all these years. Now, after being inspired by that movie, you quickly became one of the youngest assistant crime lords in Frederick, Maryland. Do you remember what you were wearing that first time you killed a man?
Shorts and a t-shirt and a hat.
Impressive memory. And what did he look like when you were finished with him? Didn't he put up a fight? I mean, what was it like fighting a full-grown man when you were only 16?
I guess like this.
As you can see, folks, these kids never stood a chance with a father like that. But the father never works alone, and behind every good Don is a Donna. And this family's Donna's name is Karen. Now, Karen, you've married into a crime lord's family. Certainly that has to be hectic every time the police come, they raid your home. I mean, it's got to be noisy with the guns, the grenades, and the...
And also, it also makes us appreciate how quiet our house is when everybody leaves.
I'll agree with you on that one. But seriously, it's been rumored that your preferred method of execution for your victims is not the gun, but rather poison. Specifically, poisoned hamburgers. What's your favorite part of watching your next victim?
Let's see.
That's kind of unusual. Most criminals get a thrill from the blast of a gun and then the blood. They must like the pink spray of the blood and then the orange and the yellow of the gun blast. But that's not your style, is it?
I don't know. I think I might find it calming rather than the pinks and the oranges and the yellows.
Well, to each her own. So, just between you and me, is there anybody that you're going to poison today?
Gee, I should say Caesar Milan, since I'm going to today.
Caesar, but I love him! Obviously a good fit for her husband. The two of them make the perfect evil couple. So with an influence like that, let's see how the kids turned out. Matt, you're the oldest child. Now, what would you say has been the central theme that you have learned from your parents regarding the ancient rites that you follow in your extended family?
I would say the central theme is staying true to the traditional and ancient values and not following what society is saying is good and correct.
And by traditional values, you mean the cold-hearted killing that you do for your father.
I'm so sorry. What did you say?
I mean the noble legacy that you and your family lead?
Cute.
Okay, moving on. So, you learned about murder at a very early age. What is it about that word that draws you?
I am not sure. I started saying it in high school and never stopped.
Whoa! How many people do you think you've murdered?
A lot. That's a good question. I would say 1,000.
And have you enjoyed it every time?
You know, I like it sometimes, but a lot of times I don't want to do it.
Well, it's good to know there's a heart in there somewhere. So, with that big heart of yours, have you been able to find love? Is there a special girl in your life?
Alive, or does it matter?
Let's move on. Although your father is a punching man, your mom is more about poison, I hear you have a special move called the head bopper. Could you demonstrate it for us? Although he didn't mention it, Matt did find love in his life, and her name is Leslie. After brutally murdering her family, Matt took her captive. Currently, he keeps her as a prisoner on his compound, hoping that one day she will fall in love with him. I had a few moments to spend getting to know a little bit more about Leslie. So Leslie, what do you think of your captors?
They're very fun people.
Really? The people that are holding you against your will are fun people? Ah. If you're unable to speak freely, say something totally bizarre.
I think that's it. I mean, a wetsuit and flippers, probably.
I understand. So, how many years do you think you'll be here before you fall in love with Matt?
A lot.
More specific than
Oh, I have no idea. I can't do math that fast.
Estimate.
5,000.
All right. That sounds about right. And what would you do if he came in and kissed you? Well, if you could just get past the guards, wouldn't you be able to escape? I mean, how many of them carry .28 caliber rifles?
All of them. They all have 28.
I am sorry to hear that. In that case, you may be here for a while. Good luck with that, Leslie. Our hopes and prayers go out to you. My final guest that I was able to interview is named Mindy, and as the most cruel in the family, she is certain to take over and be the next in line. I'll give you just a taste of the subtle wickedness that I experienced at the hands of the merciless Mindy. Mindy, let's get right to the point. Everyone here says you're the coldest, most ruthless killer they've ever seen.
You're welcome.
I see I haven't been misled. So do you freely admit that you will be the next in line to control this family?
Yes.
Wait, but I thought Matt was the oldest. Won't he be a problem?
No.
Well, you sound very confident. Is there already something that you have planned to relieve him of the burden of leadership?
I was just thinking about this the other day.
So I'm guessing you have something in mind for him. I don't even want to know what you're planning, but could you give me a hint? Gross. So who's your ultimate goal to kill? You know, the person that you'd really like to see gone from this world.
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks? But I love him. Wasn't he in that movie about magic? You know, the one where he pulled the rabbit out of the hat. That's it. I take it you've seen that movie.
Every week for my whole life, on Sundays, for the most part. and also during the week for activities.
Yeesh, I think I'd hate him too if I saw him that much. So, let's move on to our last topic of discussion. I've got to ask you about your torture. You are a world-renowned torturer. Could you tell me how you prepare if you know things are going to get especially, messy?
I would wear my swimsuit underneath so I don't have to change into it. And ideally some nice flowy shorts, but I don't have them. And a t-shirt. And a sun hat if I look good in it. And sunglasses. And sunscreen.
Ugh. Wow, you really are as heartless as they say. And unless I'm mistaken, you have something of a motto. It's the final thing you say to your victims when they beg for mercy?
As you wish.
There you have it, folks. We've shown you just what happens in the twisted minds of those people who keep business in the family, even when that business is murder. Join us next week as we meet a competing family in the Maryland arena for supremacy. We will meet the family that uses the church to launder their money, and the father who runs that church for his own nefarious purposes. Join us next week as we meet the Bullocks.